strong, honorable, dignified, courageous.
This is a journey on a long and windy road.
These are your stories.
These are our stories.
We share a common bond.
The women who belong to the Texas A&M Corps of Cadets.
From its opening in October of 1876 until December 1974, the Texas A&M Corps of Cadets was an all-male organization. However, times were changing.
In the spring of 1974, and we were told on that evening that there were going to be women in the Corps the following year.
For 97 years, Texas A&M has provided through its incomparable Corps of Cadets the finest military training, leadership development, and character building offered anywhere in the world to young men. Upon considering the fact that women will, in the future, be charged with upholding the reputation of Texas A&M, both as members of the civilian community and the military, we fail to see any rational reason by which we can justify withholding the finest training available to equip them for this task. We feel that we should extend to women the opportunities offered by the Corps to enable them to better serve their university, their community, their state, and their nation.
I came to orientation, and there was a cadet there to meet and greet us as we went to the Corps presentation. And he met my father, and then he extended his hand to my brother to say, "We're very glad you're here, and come on in." And my dad began to snicker and said, "You've got the wrong one." And the cadet couldn't ever recover. And that was my first inkling that maybe I was doing something that was a little different.
In 1974, women were added to the Corps, but were not supposed to officially join the Corps until 5 years later. 51 members formed the company W1. The Minerva Plan recommended that the women's unit have a male commander since the women would not have any rank.
I thought that the women certainly should be brought in and treated with the utmost respect and treated like any other cadet, because this was the very first time that this was going to happen. It could not fail.
Aggies really represent a strong leadership, and we just wanted to have a taste of being equal on that ground.
It was just my chance. It was my window of opportunity. I was crawling through.
We were very aware that we were blazing the path for others to follow. We all definitely felt there was a place for women in the Corps.
First, they lived off campus and wore no uniforms. Their only visible identification was the military name tag.
But these were only small obstacles.
We drilled 4 days a week, and there's no other outfit in the Corps at that time that was doing that. So we overcame a lot of those problems, and we built a unit cohesiveness that I would challenge anybody to stand up to.
However, the more challenges they faced, the stronger they became.
It was so controversial, and it was during the second week, and I was having an argument once again with someone about getting in the Corps, and it got real heated, and he said, "Well, why don't you sign up?" And I got mad and stomped over the trigon and signed up, and then I had too much pride to quit.
We wanted to have the same opportunities, not to break the barrier, but to gain the same opportunities and benefits that being part of this organization gave you.
I don't think there was ever any satisfaction in where we were. I think you always press further. We just weren't sure we were going to have the opportunity to get there.
I remember uniforms and getting uniforms and talking about designing of uniforms. And what were we going to wear, and what were we going to look like? Were we going to have boots or not have boots? And we chose not to have boots.
It was exciting and scary at the same time, because we had not been easily identified as a group that fall semester.
It was different walking on campus at that time when there was only 50, 75, 100 of you. And you looked different from everyone else, so everyone knew who you were.
I was impressed with their enthusiasm and dedication. It was obvious that they really, really wanted to make this work.
It was the drive and determination of these women that led to this successful journey. But there were others who helped to pave the path as well.
Don Roper is an amazing man, and he was an amazing man at age 20 and 21. And sometimes you just come across people like that in your life and feel very blessed. He's the one who guided us through a very difficult time, and he did it with a great deal of compassion.
To fill the leadership positions for sophomore and junior positions, there had to be other cadets, and those were males. So they certainly get a strong commendation as well, because without those guys to do the training of the women, they would not have progressed as they did.
For all the talk of men being resistant for the women to join the Corps, most of our friends were guys in the Corps.
By final review, their numbers had dropped from 53 to 26 women, but nothing seemed to stop those still in Company W1. They continued to press on, and people were starting to recognize their progress.
It was Military Day, spring of '75, during the review on the reviewing field. So as we're marching around the reviewing field, there was a standing ovation. And so that was so very special for those people to have been rewarded. Think about what A&M is, what it's meant to be. It's very simple to walk over to the center campus, look at the statue of Lawrence Sullivan Ross and see three words: soldier, statesman, knightly gentleman. And if you adhere to those three, everything else will work out fine.
As the decade was coming to an end, the women in the Corps were starting to make their mark and their voices were being heard.
Although women's roles in the Corps were changing, the times were not changing fast enough. In 1979, Melanie Zinkgraf filed lawsuit against Texas A&M University for lack of progress in fully accepting women into the Corps of Cadets. This case represented the Justice Department's first action to enforce Title IX of the Civil Rights Act.
More advancement took place during the transition into the 1980s.
W1 split, forming the second all-female unit, Squadron 14. Women in the class of '80 would wear senior boots for the first time to final review. Company W1 and Squadron 14 were allowed to participate in the bonfire cut. And in 1985, women joined the ranks of the Fightin' Texas Aggie Band.
We were going on a trip with the band during school, and I brought a note to one of my instructors in the College of Architecture and was telling her that, you know, I'll be gone. And she said, "There aren't any women in the band." Well, I'm in the band. I was always looking to just be a good BQ, not be a good female BQ.
By the mid-1980s, it seemed as though women in the Corps were coming into their own. However, seeing the face of a woman among the ranks of the elite organizations was still something of a rarity. And regardless of all the progress, they were still struggling to take a step further.
When I got here, women had been wearing senior boots for, I think it was 4 years. So it was established that we could still wear them, but we still had reminders to us that this was a very hard-earned but very short period of time that they had been in effect. Because when I was here, several of us women, we went down to Hollick's Boots to order them, and he would not make boots for women. So we still had that reminder that this is a new privilege. And being 10 years difference from when I joined to the women that were the first group in, they worked very hard for something. So we were very grateful that they had broken that milestone for us.
It's hard to see how it was back then with the way it is now.
After almost 20 years, W1 and Squadron 14 were disbanded and the women were fully integrated into the Corps of Cadets.
I look at the fact that women are integrated now, that they have boots, they're on staff, they're in most of the special units. It's just amazing how many women there are who have continued what we started.
I think that the women today can see the future ahead of them. We talk about, wow, do you think there'll ever be a woman on staff? Do you ever think there'll be another unit? But I can remember thinking, I can't even imagine a time when that will happen, and it has.